your biography doesn't say much about you, just about some songs in the cradle. Sounds like Lou Reed and Bob Dylan together. I would like to start with some real biography. So, when you were born, how you were brought up, all these things, okay?
Well, I was born in 1959 in California, but I wasn't there very long. I was there for about 2.5 years, and then my family moved to New York City, which is where I spent the rest of my life and still live. My father is a writer. My mother is a computer systems analyst. I have 3 younger brothers and sisters, and my mother had me when she was 18 years old and had all 4 of us by the time she was 24 years old. And I'm the oldest child, so I had a lot of responsibility growing up. That's a beginning.
So, but how did you came to the music? I mean, how did you make contact with music? Was that in some New York village folk clubs, or via radio, or through your family?
Well, when I was growing up, I guess I got it through my family because my parents were so young, and they had a lot of friends who would come over and listen to music, and I guess a lot of the music that we listened to was Dylan and Paul Simon and Laura Nyro, and that's the music that I grew up listening to, as well as also it was played on the radio. You know, I guess Like a Rolling Stone was a big hit at one point there, which I remember hearing, and the atmosphere was full of that kind of music.
So nowadays you're considered one of the new talents in folk, singer-songwriting, or whatever little box you will find in that way. Would you say that you're a folk singer or singer-songwriter, or when asked, what kind of music are you doing?
I guess usually I consider myself mostly to be a singer-songwriter, mostly a songwriter, and I think, I can carry a tune. I don't think I'm a great singer, but I think I like writing songs, and I think I write different kinds of songs. Some are pop songs, some are folk songs, some are experimental and not really you can't really categorize them. I think I had every intention of being a folk singer when I first started. I guess I was 14 years old when I wrote my first song, and I was 16 when I started to go out and perform. And that was pretty much what I'd had in mind, was being a folk singer the way, say, Dylan was a folk singer in the beginning. And I guess I didn't think too much about the category of how it fit in, or whether Dylan was a folk singer actually, because some people say he's not. And I just knew that I wanted to do that kind of music, the kind of music that, say, Leonard Cohen did, or the kind of music that gave you some kind of freedom to express yourself in a personal way.
Where did you start or where did you had your first performance?
Where? In a small church basement on 86th Street and West End Avenue, about 20 blocks away from my house.
Was it very successful?
Oh yeah, I suppose it was very successful. It was a half an hour, and I considered it to be my first concert, and I was very proud and pleased, and all my friends came. But I mean, if I tried to get a real gig singing in the village, at say Folk City or at any other of those clubs, well, actually not at Folk City, because I didn't go down there in the beginning because I was very intimidated, because I had heard so many things about the club, and I didn't feel that I quite fit in. I didn't feel that I was good enough to go in when I was 16 or 17, and besides also it's a bar and I was underage, so I couldn't go in even if I had wanted to. But so I would go down and audition, and for a long time people told me that I was too shy on stage and too quiet, and that I had nice songs but they weren't commercial enough, and maybe if I could do some other kinds of songs they would give me a job. So I just didn't go back. I mean, for a long time. And then when I was 20, I finally went to Folk City. I got up all my courage and I went in, and I realized that it wasn't as difficult as I had thought it was. And I got my first job there. And from there on, I guess I started singing, I guess you would say, professionally.
What is the power behind all the things you do? What is the thing? What drives you to write songs, to write words, text, poems? What is the power behind that? Why do you do it?
It's a good question. I ask myself that sometimes. It used to be that it was almost something that I felt I couldn't help. It was like, it's almost as though certain things were shown to me in a way. It's like, And so I felt that I had to write them down so I would remember them. And for some reason, the rhythms came easily, and the rhymes came easily, and the chords would all fit together. And I could think of an idea, and it was as though I were possessed by that idea for, say, 3 or 4 hours. And then at the end of the 4 hours, I would have a song, and it would be finished. And not all of them were great songs, but that's how it used to be very often in the beginning. And some of the songs are still like that. Like The Queen and the Soldier was one where I couldn't really tell you why I wrote it. It was an idea. And it was as though the two characters appeared to me and were working themselves out, and almost as though I had nothing to do with it in a way, which I know it sounds funny, but it was the way I experienced it at the time. Also, it's something I love to do. I love to go out and look at the people and sing to them and look into their faces and see their eyes and see if they understand what I'm saying and see how they look when they do understand it. It's something that I really love doing. It's hard to explain.
But don't you find it difficult then to sing in a country where English is not the mother language?
Yeah, although I must say I sang for 2 weeks in Italy last year. That's true, but you can still tell a lot about a person by the way they sing and their gestures and by the way they hold themselves and by the way they've done themselves up, by the clothes they wear and the tone in their voice. I know that I love other people's songs and I don't understand what they're saying. I guess, Portuguese is an example of that, like Milton Nascimento or Astrid Gilberto. I don't always understand what they're saying, but I love their voices and I love to hear them sing because I'm very curious about what they're expressing, even though I may not understand all the words. Certainly, I guess there are bands in my own country where I don't know what they're saying, like RIAS, but I'm still very curious to know. I'd still like to hear them sing because I like the melodies. So I mean, it's an experiment for me being here.
By the way, was it a very hard fight, or was it a fight anyway, when you decided to do singing professional against your family? Did they say, okay, if you want to sing on professional, do it, or did you have to fight?
They were pretty supportive, although for the most part I've been a pretty independent. I was an independent child, and I was an independent adolescent, and now I'm an independent adult, and I tend to go off and do things on my own. I think they thought it was nice. It's a nice idea. I think my mother was a little concerned that maybe I wouldn't make enough money and that maybe I should learn to type. And then when I did, when I was working as a secretary and as a receptionist, she was behind me, wondering when I was going to quit my job and try and make it, try and make my living as a singer, which is what I've done ultimately. The other thing is that my father is a writer, so he understood the struggle that I was going through. I mean, he had taught at school for a long time until he decided that he really wanted to be a writer, and it was a difficult thing for him to leave his job. But he understood what I was going through when I decided I wanted that to be my path, and he was supportive of that. Sure.
Very hot on the fingers. The songs you sing, are they very, well, in a way, are they very intimate? Are they very from your own biography, from your own knowledge, the things you met, people you met, experiences you
I think you could say that they're from my life. It doesn't mean that they're always from my point of view or things that have happened to me exactly as I put them down. I try and write about feelings that I understand, because otherwise I don't think you can have a true song. I could pretend that I'm someone else. I could pretend that I was Marlene Dietrich, or I could pretend that I'm Madonna, but I prefer not to, and I don't feel like that I would be convincing. Do I like her? I think she does what she does, and it's
a very diplomatic answer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I don't buy her records. I don't think that she should be banned or that she should, I prefer another kind of style of music.
What kind of?
I guess I prefer Leonard Cohen or Paul Simon, REM or Billy Bragg or the Smiths.
More smooth kind of music.
More what?
Smooth kind of music.
Well, not so much smooth as personal and involved in with interesting lyrics. That's the kind I like to know about a person's life, about a real person's life, and not a fantastic character. That's I prefer just to.
Use a girl at the wall.
Yeah. Excuse me?
I use a girl at the wall then.
No, it's Marlene Dietrich. Marlene's on the wall. That's for a while I had her picture on my wall in my room, and I guess I was trying to write a story about a young woman by herself in the city and the kind of thing that you might go through.
Didn't you feel for a time like Marlene? Didn't you see yourself like Marlene?
I would love to be like Marlene Dietrich, but I don't think I am. Certainly, I think her image in her movies is very sophisticated and very intelligent, as well as very beautiful, and I think there's something about her that's fascinating to me. I think I'm a little too awkward to be like her. I think
Why awkward?
it's just that's the way I feel about myself. I feel that I don't always go from one thing to another very smoothly. I feel like there's always some raggedy edges sticking out here or there. Well, it's also because I'm human, and Marlene Dietrich, at least on film, was a rather perfect character.
So you don't feel sophisticated or pretty or...
I feel like sometimes I can be. It's not my main. It's not the image I think I project. I mean, I think there's an element of that, sure, but I don't think it's. I don't feel like, say, Sade, who to me seems very sophisticated and very pretty. I think there's another side to it. There's a. I don't know if you call it a childlike side or a more. I'm more interested in what goes on behind the pretty face, rather than just the pretty face.
So what's behind your pretty face?
Well, that's one thing I'm still trying to figure out, actually. I think that I have very strong beliefs. I try not to preach about them. I think I have very strong individual beliefs. I think that I'm against any form of oppression by fear or by terror, and that goes clear all the way through personal relationships, all the way to political beliefs. I think that people, in their heart, if they're left to their own devices, will be good. Not everybody agrees with me. I mean, I also believe that people by themselves are stronger, I think, than people in a crowd or people in a mob. And these are all things I think I express in my music, but it's not stated. It's not. I don't preach these things. I don't like to impose on other people. I don't like them to impose on me. So that's part of, I'm sure, what's behind the face.
So if you're on stage and sing your song, then you want to change society. Then you have a political thing to be on stage and to sing songs.
Do I want to change society? I guess I would like to see. Well, I mean, I guess I can talk about my society to some degree, which tends to be very individualistic, and you have all these different myths of, you have Thoreau and Walt Whitman, and everyone stands alone, and which I think there's a middle ground. Again, I don't give specific suggestions in my songs because I don't know if I know enough to do that. I don't feel certain enough about my own judgments. I try and record like a camera does. I try and open the shutter and record what I see so that other people can feel it also. It's very hard for me to judge because I feel that people don't always understand. Like, I don't feel that I would know enough to understand situations and therefore to write about them. I feel that in my own life I've been misunderstood or feel that people have thought of me a certain way when I wasn't. And this has influenced me a lot growing up. Just that you can never be sure of what you're seeing if that's the way it actually is. So I guess I have a deep distrust of the way people look and the way I try and get to the heart of things, which means to me getting past their political and their social barriers and getting to know them as a person. And I think each person, each human being, I think has a similar core. And that's the thing that interests me most. And that's the part that I go for. when I sing. That's the part that I try and reach. So in that way, that's why I sing songs about that. I think they're going to start. No, I know, because otherwise...
We'll try.
Yeah, so I guess I am going on at about 9. And they may start earlier, I guess. Looks like they're going to. Yeah, I see. They're there with the lights on, so... All right.
The station is RIAS 2.
How do you spell that?
RIAS
RIAS?
2.
RIAS 2.
Or RIAS 2. That's German.
RIAS 2?
2, yeah. Can you say that?
I suppose I could try. Hi, this is Suzanne Vega, and you're listening to RIAS 2.